Hi. Welcome back to Lucas' Narration channel. I do hope you're well. Today we're checking out two dramatic and unpleasant stories from the Am I the A-hole subreddit. And if you love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting the like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, as it really helps out. Now let's crack on with today's story. So, our first story is from a Reddit user who goes by the name Crow Theory. She posted her story on the Am I the A-hole subreddit to ask the online community for their opinions about the unpleasant and dramatic situation she found herself in. She says, I, 24 years old female, am dating a 25 years old male and almost unreasonably picky eater, and I'm pretty much at the end of my rope. I, 24 years old female, met Jake, 25 years old male, about 2 years ago while out and bonding over the fact that we graduated from the same college. We went on a couple dates and were getting to know each other when he let me know that he had more or less eaten pizza every day for the past 3 years. I didn't love the idea, but I thought he was pretty cool besides that and figured it was just a little quirk he had, that he was exaggerating and that the dude just really liked pizza. He was not. He eats it every single day without fail. Each time we go out it has to be pizza, and after a few fights here and there, it's been pretty much an unspoken understanding that when we go out we will be getting pizza. Also, it's not just any pizza, he's even picky about his pizza. He'll make us go to a few totally inconvenient pizza places that require a subway ride trip and is far from where either of us live. We live in NYC, and I'm sure most of you know you pretty much can't pass a single block without stumbling upon a pizza place, so it's not like these places are our only options. I can name all the foods he eats on both my hands. All are simple carbohydrates, but pizza is his absolute favorite. The others he'll just settle to eat if pizza is not immediately available. No vegetables, no fruit, no protein whatsoever. He absolutely refuses to even try them despite never trying most of them before. I've tried to gently push his boundaries, but it always fails, and the one time we went somewhere I wanted to go he pouted the entire time and ordered French fries. He's promised to be more open and that this pizza thing won't be forever, but that it's working for him now, whatever that means. He claims to be high-functioning on the spectrum, which honestly, I'm not totally convinced of, but that's another story, and that's why he can only eat pizza. This made me more cautious of discussing my issues with his diet, because I know how easily he can claim I'm insensitive to his disability and that it's something he truly cannot help, and he has. I do firmly believe he has some sort of avoidant eating disorder that is clearly not debatable. I've more or less dropped it because it always starts a fight, but the resentment is still there. Something I wasn't totally sold on when we first met but convinced myself was a small quirk is turning into genuine disgust and bitterness towards him and his unwillingness. I guess he thought I got over it since I stopped bringing it up as much, and he informed me of his plan to stop eating pizza every day after 10,000 consecutive days of eating pizza. To do the math for you, that's roughly around 2040 factoring in the days he's already gained. He's going to document it on his Instagram story and show everybody his streak. He seems so proud of this idea and commitment, and I'm genuinely stunned. He thinks this is just some interesting, cute little tidbit about him that people will support because he's such an offbeat guy. I could not believe what I was hearing. Taking away the inconvenience of always having to eat where he wants to eat, not being able to cook for us, me being bored stupid over eating the same shit every time, it's simply not healthy. He claims because he's outwardly fit it's not a big deal, but I disagree. I was sort of putting up with the whole pizza thing at first, but upon this announcement, I don't know if I can deal with this much longer. It's inconvenient, it's unhealthy, and in my opinion it's selfish. Everybody you go to eat out with has to cater to a single person's self-imposed dietary restrictions. He's going to Germany with his family for vacation, and he's already mapped out the available pizza places he can eat at German pizza over authentic German cuisine. It very well could be something he can't help, and he has claimed to be getting help through therapy with it, but I'm seeing no progress, and honestly I don't think he wants to, and only says he's working on it to placate me. He talks about having a future with me and having kids, and there's no way I would even consider that if he continues to commit to this streak, for the fear of setting a bad example for our children's eating habits. We don't live together and only see each other about 3 times a week, and the pizza thing is driving me crazy. He proposed moving in together, and I immediately shot that down for the time being. If I can barely handle it now, I know living together would only amplify it. I've tried gently coaxing, I've tried showing him studies on how his diet affects his life and sets back the fitness goals he's always complaining about never reaching. I've tried fighting and anger only to be told I'm an a-hole because I need to accept him as he is and that he can't help it. Maybe he is right. I have to accept it or I have to move on, and at this point I truly don't think I can. He's great in almost every other way except for this. I feel guilty for letting it go on this long when it bothered me from the very beginning, but I can't change that now. Do I concede and let him eat whatever he wants as he's a grown man? Should I draw this boundary and continue to push him to push himself and give an ultimatum? Or do I just need to throw in the towel at this point and move on with my life? Never thought I'd get so stressed out over pizza for F's sake. Opie, this isn't your problem and you can't fix him. He was like this before you met him and still is. He obviously has an addiction to this. So don't try to fix him, just leave him. What do you guys think about this story? Share your thoughts in the comments. And now let's check out what people online want to say to Opie. We're starting with one comment from one Reddit user says, "You do not concede. You say, look, I don't want to effing date Papa John. Get some help so we can both eat normal things. Because you're unhealthy and I'm not going to date someone who will die of diabetes before he's 40-inch. Get him into therapy stat. He has untreated mental illness. It's not about accepting anything." Another Reddit user wants to say to OP that her boyfriend is just entitled and he won't change his habits, saying, "I'd be more pissed at his sense of entitlement that you simply give up any nice eating experience as a date with him to the point of him openly sulking when he has to eat a potato at a restaurant you want to try. Where's the give and take here?" People on the spectrum do like routine. And they also need to challenge themselves within reason. If he's unwilling to do that, especially in the absence of an actual diagnosis, I wouldn't want to continue. Because that has nothing to do with being on the spectrum and more so speaks to his values. For example, his wants come first. Always. Next commenter adds, "I mean, unless it's fine with you, this seems like a deal breaker for most people. The dude is preventing you from going on cool dates that include eating at fancy or fun restaurants. Also, if you want to be with someone you might eventually marry, this dude is going to die way sooner than his partner if he continues eating like this. Along the way, he's going to have a lot of health issues to deal with and drain your or his bank account with medical bills. Also, it's effing weird. He's a child in a man's body." As the online community is curious about what happened next to Opie's relationship, Opie came in to give us an update. She says, "This update is way more dramatic and unpleasant than I had hoped, but it is what it is. I read what you all wrote and I appreciate all the comments left for me. Despite a few outlandish ones, they were all very helpful and reaffirming of my beliefs that I'm not being nitpicky about this issue. I decided to give it one last shot at broaching this issue with him and letting him know how serious it was to me. He needed help, and so long as I saw that he was trying, that was all I asked for. We were out to dinner. I'm sure you can all guess what we had to eat when he brought up his trip to Germany and how he would have to find a supermarket stat in order to stock up on frozen pizzas to keep his streak going. I was hoping to do it after the trip so as not to ruin his good time, but I figured now was as good a time as any. Maybe you don't have to continue to the streak. Maybe you can just try new German cuisine without worrying about having to get pizza into your diet the entire time. Have you talked with your therapist about your avoidant eating? Jay, no way. I have people depending on me to continue this streak. I don't want to let them down. I don't think anybody really cares about this streak as much as you do, and frankly, I'm worried about you. This is really unhealthy and it's consuming your life. You're about to go on this incredible trip to Germany and the forefront of your mind is to get to a grocery store to pick up frozen pizzas. I think you really need to discuss this with your therapist again. We had a back and forth the rest of our meal about his diet and how it was affecting our relationship. He doesn't think it's a problem because his health is fine. Keep in mind he's only 25, and how I was being a busybody and needed to mind my own business. I let him know how this is my business because it affects me. We can only go out to eat one thing, we can never have a meal at home together, and if we did decide to move forth and have children, the example he is setting is awful. We let the issue go for the rest of dinner, not wanting to escalate it, and ate in silence. The plan after was to go back to his place where I would spend the night. The entire trip home he was silent but very obviously simmering while I wished I had just gone home. I should have gone home. I guess I didn't expect the shitstorm that waited when I got to his place. He flipped. He began screaming how he was so sick of me bringing this up and how it was his life and how I couldn't control what he did or ate. I told him I cared about him and his health and wanted him to recognize what he was doing was not healthy. I ultimately agreed that he was right. I couldn't control what he did or what he ate, but he can't expect that I stick around and watch and enable him like I had been doing in the past. It escalated from there how he had been there for me the entire time when I was an active alcoholic and through my relapses. I could not and still cannot dispute that. He was. I guess the only difference between him and I is that I wanted to change. I acknowledged the issue and knew I could not go on like this any longer. Obviously though, it is much quicker to see the downfall of someone suffering from alcoholism versus someone who is suffering from this kind of eating disorder. One spirals much faster than the other, so I was able to recognize it much quicker. I told him I was going to leave because I couldn't deal with this anymore. We kept fighting and he let me know he would expose me. He has a blog and he told me how he would write one about what it was to live with an alcoholic and use my name. He would be sharing it on Facebook. I completely panicked. I cried and begged that he didn't use my most vulnerable moments against me. He told me if I walked out he absolutely would. That was all I needed to hear. He was going to blackmail me. I think this snapped me awake to realize this isn't love. If I leave he's going to humiliate me on the internet to get back at me. That absolutely isn't love. So I left. I don't have many possessions there, but he can keep them for all I care. He emailed me a draft of the post, blocked him on everything else, and the subject was last chance. Let him post it. Screw it. I can't control other people, I can only control myself and how I react. I deactivated all my social media and I'm ready to move on with my life. It hurts that somebody I trusted so much would explicitly broadcast my past, but it's a learning lesson. Thank you all for reading. Opie has updated the post by leaving a comment and replying the comments of other users in the thread. She says, "I'm a total hothead and need to relax. Crazy defensive right now and wondering if I did the right thing. I apologize for lashing out. He was all talk, no follow-through on the blackmail. Blocked his ass on everything that night without warning or explanation. Never looked back. Almost 4 years now, no contact, couldn't be happier. Good riddance. Did I ever mention he threatened to kill himself every time I threatened breaking up too? Good times, good times." Opie shares her opinions by answering one comment concerning the ex-boyfriend streak. "I'd have no idea. I ghosted him not long after this happened. My guess is probably yeah. I don't think this was necessarily about wanting to commit to the streak just because he wanted to. I think it was an excuse he was using to justify his refusal to eat other foods with the distinct bonus of getting other people's attention, which he was a slave for. Worst relationship of my life, should have never let it go on for as long as it did." In another comment from one Reddit user, she adds, "Last I heard he moved to LA. He attempted contact twice. Once tried from a burner account on Snapchat and the other was via Venmo LOL. Eventually got the message it wasn't happening. No, he never followed through on his threat, although I don't think that was out of a kindness to me. In hindsight, I don't think he ever planned on doing it. Just empty threats out of desperation to get me to stay with him. This dude had some serious issues and I have no desire to ever see or hear from him again." She also explains about her ex-boyfriend's pizza preferences by responding to one comment. "It wasn't so much the toppings that he wanted, but like the way a specific pizza is made. Like some pizzerias use different crusts, different sauces, and he peculiarly liked the crust and sauce at this one place. From what I remember, he liked cheese, pepperoni here and there, but mostly cheese. Boring. What do you guys make of this one? Let us know your thoughts down in the comment below." And now let's move on to our second story. This story was written by a Reddit user who goes by the name Ta Bad Manners. He asks, "Am I the a-hole for demanding my fiancé stop teaching our kids bad manners? Hi everyone, using a throwaway because I don't want this on my main, but I would like an outside opinion. My fiancé, Lola, and I have been together for 5 years, engaged for a little over a year, and we have twins, boy and girl, 2.5. Our wedding is in 2 months. Lola usually takes care of feeding the kids in the mornings since I work early, and so I never noticed this until recently. I took a week's vacation from work to just spend time at home with my kids and Lola and started to notice something that bothered me. Lola has been teaching our kids bad table manners and sees nothing wrong with it. I hadn't noticed this before, as they don't eat this type of food for lunch or dinner or snacks or eat it all the time, so I guess I just missed it as I wasn't home or she fed them other things on the weekends. This morning I was helping Lola make breakfast and then I got the kids ready while she brought their food out for them. As they were getting ready to eat, I noticed they didn't have forks or spoons, so I told Lola I would get them and she said there was no need. I watched instead and she gave the kids tortillas that she ripped into pieces and they were using their bare hands to grab the food using the pieces of the tortilla. I asked her what she was doing and that she should be giving them utensils, but she seemed shocked that I was concerned and said that's how they always eat it. I told her that she was teaching them bad manners and making them think it was okay to just grab food with their hands. She told me they do that anyway when they have chips or grapes or tacos and pizza, and listed a bunch of other snacks and fast food you eat without utensils, but I pointed out that those things are usually made to be eaten quickly or on the road, like fast food. So utensils aren't needed. She said I was being offensive by calling her way of eating gross and saying it was having bad manners, but I do think it's gross to see someone grabbing at food with their bare hands like that. She said she grew up eating like that and would always use tortillas to eat things like eggs or meat or rice or beans, and that it wasn't gross because she always made the kids wash their hands before they ate. I ended up giving my kids forks for them to eat which they didn't want to use, which made me even more frustrated with her because now they're used to this. Lola has been really annoyed the rest of the day and wouldn't let me help her with lunch, and earlier she was walking around the house speaking to someone, probably her sister, in Spanish about me, and I'm starting to feel a bit annoyed. Am I the a-hole? In the comment, Opie has voted you're the a-hole. Here's my take on the situation. Opie just basically called his wife's whole culture gross despite the kids washing their hands first, so it's perfectly clean because it's now how he's used to it looking. I couldn't be rolling my eyes any harder. Opie is not wrong for wanting to teach his kids to be able to use utensils, but the way he went about it was terrible. Also, she's right. If it's gross to use a tortilla to eat things, how is it not gross to have a taco or a burrito? That is literally using a tortilla to eat something. Also, what about a burger? Pizza? Or a sandwich? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comments below. And now let's check out what people say in the comment. One user says, to be clear, they can use utensils. I just think that allowing them not to will make them used to eating with their bare hands, and then they'll try it with someone that can't be eaten that way, say soup or spaghetti for example. They do use utensils when eating other things like pasta or soup, etc. So like, what's the problem then? One user says, I think it's bad manners and a little unhygienic. What does bad manners mean? In this case it just sounds like it annoys you. And unhygienic? They've washed their hands. This commenter couldn't help but say, what if you went to a restaurant and saw people grabbing at all the food with their hands and fists and shoving it in their mouths? Would you not consider that bad manners? Another user adds, you're the a-hole. I'm guessing Lola is of Latin American descent? It's very common in that culture to use a tortilla as the utensil, just as it is in many other cultures to use bread or something as a utensil. You're being insensitive to her culture. Some people are curious if his fiancée is a person of color and is it a cultural thing? But Opie confirms. She is not of color. She is Mexican but very pale with green eyes. Lola is not brown. She is Mexican but she is white. Mexicans aren't white no matter how fair-skinned they are. There are white Latinos, which my wife is. If you looked at her you would not think she is Mexican. Opie is so thankful that many people online quickly leave their opinions about his story in the comment, so he edits the post to say, while lots of replies quickly. They seem to be mixed so far, but I will add in that the kids can use utensils and use them with foods like soups or pastas, etc. I just fear that allowing them to continue using their hands will make them used to it. What are your thoughts? Do you think Opie was right? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. Quickly, Opie came back to give us an update. He says, hello again. I'm hoping to follow all the rules so this doesn't get deleted or anything, but I wanted to post a quick update because I got a big fat reality check yesterday. I admit that at first I was annoyed and defensive that everyone was ganging up on me and saying I was racist or an absent parent, etc. However, surprisingly enough, it was the comments who were trying to defend me and somewhat agreeing with me that ended up changing my mind. At first I was mainly focusing on the 2 to 3 comments in my defense, but as I read more of them I started to realize that they were sounding racist or disrespectful, and then I realized the rest of you were right, and that is what I sounded like in my post. There were a few comments saying something like, in America that is not normal, but we are not in America, and hearing people say that to me while defending me was shocking to say the least. I don't want to be one of those people who goes around telling people that they need to speak a certain language or do a certain thing because of where they happen to be. I showed my wife the post and she saw a lot of your disrespectful comments agreeing with me, calling her way of eating unhygienic, and she said they sounded like me, which made me realize I was an a-hole. For those asking if I had never seen my wife eat like that, no I hadn't, and I asked her why she never did even though she said she grew up doing it. She told me how a few months into our relationship I had made a comment about someone in a film being poor and weird for eating food with their hands. I do remember having said this, and it is something that I should not have said. She said that is why she didn't eat like that in front of me, but she thought I wouldn't mind if our kids did, as they are toddlers and toddlers regularly eat with their hands. I am doing a lot of self-reflection and have apologized deeply to my wife. She said she needs some time to think things through after seeing the post and my comments as well as everyone's comments, which I fully respect. Thanks everyone for your insight. About 2 years later, Opie came back with a post updating everyone about his current relationship with his wife. The post titled, "Me 32-year-old male, fiancé, 32-year-old female, suddenly doesn't want to marry me anymore because of a disagreement we had a year ago. What now? Hi everyone. I've been with my fiancé, Lola, for almost 7 years now and we've been engaged for 2 of those years. We have twins together, male and female, 3, and I thought we were happy. About a year ago we had a small fight or disagreement about how she was raising our kids, but after receiving some feedback from Reddit I was able to see that I was in the wrong and I was being incredibly offensive toward my wife. This was on a different account that I lost the info for, but everyone was very helpful, so thanks again. I apologized and she seemed to accept my apology, and I thought things were back to normal after all of that. She seemed to be her normal self again and we didn't argue or disagree about that topic anymore. In fact, we hadn't had even a minor disagreement for months after that. I thought we were happy. Well, we were originally planning to get married last year, October of 2023, but she ended up changing her mind and saying she wanted to push back the wedding a bit. I was a bit confused and she wouldn't really elaborate on why. She just said it was stressful to plan a wedding with toddlers and she needed some time, so I agreed. Well, she just dropped a bomb on me out of nowhere a few days ago when she randomly stated that she doesn't think she wants to get married anymore. This was heartbreaking to hear, of course, and I asked that we sit and talk it out. She ended up telling me that she doesn't think we are compatible after 7 years and that she thinks we should go our own ways and co-parent. I'm devastated. I pressed for more information, like what made you realize this? And why now? And she basically said that she felt like I didn't really know her and that I didn't want to know her. I thought this was ridiculous. I know everything about her. I know her favorite color, movie, and song. I know her favorite food. I can read her body language extremely well. I do know her. We've been together for years. She said a few more things and apparently she's been thinking over our relationship since that fight happened a year ago. She said it was eye-opening for her and that when I let her see the post and she looked through all the comments, she realized things about me that she had swept under the rug for years and blown off as one-time issues. She went on a whole spiel about all these things she had realized about me and how she didn't think we should be together anymore. I don't even know what she means. I think I zoned out for most of her rant because I was so blindsided and hurt by this that I was trying not to break down in tears. I offered to go to couples counseling and individual counseling, but she said it was too late and that I should have done that or offered that a year ago when this all blew up. I don't even know what to do now, and I think it's a bit unfair for her to put all of that on me. Just because I didn't think of therapy after a minor disagreement a year ago, I'm no longer someone she wants to marry? That's insane. I don't know what to do. How can I get her to give me another chance to see that I still love her and we can make this work? What can I say to make her change her mind? I'm so lost and I don't know what to do. Someone responds to OP when he questions why she would wait a year. One commenter says, probably because she was trying to reconcile her conflicting feelings and trying to make it work. With time and reflection, she's realized that that incident you previously posted about, as well as many others, changed the way she sees and feels about you when all added up. It sounds like you didn't make a sincere effort to learn about and understand her culture, which is likely what makes her feel like you don't know her. It sounds like she's tried really hard to ignore her doubt and keep it together because there's love there and you have children together, but she's realized she's only been dragging out the inevitable. You made racist comments about her and her culture, my guy. It's understandable that those kinds of things have the potential to fester and become looming issues. Even if you stopped making them, you were the type of person to make them in the first place, and she may have spent the past year wondering if you still felt that way but were just holding your tongue. In response to that comment, Opie says, well, I did learn that the part of her culture that I insulted was just a way of doing things and I corrected my actions. You're right that I didn't actively go out and learn every single thing about her culture, but she didn't bring that up either, so I'm not sure what I could have done. Opie could have taken an active role in learning about her culture. He shares, yes, but it is her culture, right? Like, wouldn't it be the default for her to be the one to teach me if I don't know about it? Like when you go to school, you are taught things by the person who knows about them. It's not like they make you go out and learn it yourself on the internet, right? If she wanted me to be more active and involved or learn more, why not help with that or teach me more? Well, I wouldn't expect her to teach our children my culture, so I just figured that she would teach them hers and I would mine. This is harsh, but I think you were right. I never really thought about how I was also being racist to my children, and that breaks my heart. Maybe the wife wanted someone to take an active interest in her culture instead of just passively waiting. Opie admits, okay, I think I understand what people are saying now. You don't think that is a little bit manipulative though? I'm not trying to be malicious or offensive, I am honestly asking. Like if you had an issue with your partner or their actions, you don't think it's a bit manipulative to never bring it up and just expect them to read your mind or know there is an issue and fix this issue that they don't know about by themselves somehow? Or am I being naive? He continues. I don't normally zone out, I just meant I was in shock at that time. It was a big deal and I apologized and addressed the issue. I didn't just drop it, I learned from my mistake and from being roasted by Reddit on the post. I admitted my failures and I apologized, and she seemed to accept the apology and it was never brought up again. I did work to repair the damage as I apologized and understood that I was being ignorant and racist and I did not want to be that person. I realized that I was erasing and judging part of my children's culture and I did want them to be involved, and I wanted my wife to keep teaching them about her culture as well. I will be getting individual therapy and I hope I can make it up to her. It's done. Counseling wouldn't have worked anyway because you only admitted you were wrong once, Reddit told Opie. Well, she never told me that I was being disrespectful and I didn't really know it was important to her culture. Once I realized that, I apologized to her. Are you curious about what happened to Opie next? Let's check out the latest update Opie gave us. He says, "Hi everyone. This will likely be the last post I make about this situation as everything seems to be final now. This one is made with my ex's permission and she will read over it beforehand as she thinks I am an unreliable narrator. She said it was only fair that she get to look it over and tell me things I need to add or change, so here we go. First of all, we are broken up. She gave me back the ring even though I said she didn't have to and she could pawn it and keep the money. She didn't want to do that and gave it back to me. I think I will pawn it myself and give her the money since she has moved out of the house. She moved in with her brother and his partner, who is actually able to get her a job where he works, and she is apparently starting next week. We will split our time with the kids since she said she was able to get shifts that align with my schedule. I have a pretty flexible schedule, but I just prefer to work the same days or times every week. So we will trade off the kids when each of us is at work and we are going to split the weekends. We are going to get a custody agreement, but we talked about it and agreed to 50-50ths, and we are both going to be cooperative as I don't want to stress her out and I do want to see my kids. I will also be brushing up on Mexican culture so that I am able to participate in things with my children, and I am looking to take some Spanish classes as well so I can communicate with them in both languages. I showed my wife the last post the day after I made it and she read it over and read all my comments and a lot of the other comments. She took like 2 days to do this. Afterward, she said she wanted to talk and asked me if I was serious when I claimed that I thought she wanted to break up because of the one fight about the food. I said yes because I was serious and did think that, and she said she couldn't believe me. I asked her to elaborate and she got very mad and asked me if I was really so oblivious to my own actions. I realized that I probably have been oblivious to my own actions and that I've been selfish, and she kind of blew up and said something and asked me if I needed an effing list so I could see all of the shit I've been doing. I told her I would appreciate if she could communicate some of the issues and there was no need for a list, but she said that a list would probably lessen the chances of me losing focus while she went on a rant. Ouch, but deserved. We ended up having a long talk about it and she wanted me to include this in the post, so I will add it below. Note that these are just things that happened since the fight about the food. When one of her nieces had a quinceañera, I kept calling it a sweet 16. She said she explained to me multiple times that they were different, had different meanings, differed cultural significance, and had different practices. She said I still called it a sweet 16 when I would talk to people about it or mention it. She said I also embarrassed her at the party because she felt that I was making fun of how her relatives were dancing. When she was pregnant with the twins, I told her she could give them names that are pronounced in Spanish so that her non-English speaking family could say them easily, and also since they are half Mexican. We agreed that she could, so long as I could choose which name was final. She said that I have not held up my end of the deal and that when we were at Christmas with her family in December, I obsessively corrected her family members when they pronounced our daughter's name, Elena, and kept saying it, Elena. According to her, I did this more than 6 times that night and she stopped keeping count. I didn't let her feed our kids some Mexican stew she had made because it looked spicy. I genuinely thought it was. She said she told me she hadn't used spicy peppers, but that night I fed them something else before the soup was done, and she said I disrespected her and her parenting skills. She feels like she is not allowed to listen to her music or any Spanish music because I will complain or change the song. She said she can only listen to her music when I am not home, otherwise I will always change it within a few seconds. She said there were other smaller examples, but these are the bigger ones that she had already mentioned or brought up before and nothing had changed. When I asked her why she stayed with me for so long or why she didn't mention these things more, she said that she's always had low self-esteem and she thought that I was a good person or partner other than these things, so she always talked herself out of a breakup. But she was just over it now. The things she listed off really opened my eyes and made me realize how selfish and unaware I've been, and I know that I need to change. I apologized to her and I know it won't change her mind, but that's okay. I just want her to know that I do regret my actions. I'm not going to ignore her or gray rock her like some people were suggesting, as I want to remain amicable for our children. I want us to have good communication, as I don't want our kids to grow up with parents who hate each other and can't have a simple conversation. Thank you to everyone who left comments, especially the ones who were harsh. What do you think about this situation? We'd love to hear your thoughts. So drop them in the comments section below. And if you enjoyed today's Reddit stories, why not consider hitting the like, subscribing, and turning on the notification bell too, as it will alert you when I return with another story. And now see you in the next one.